What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Wednesday. More NBA playoffs for us after Mr. Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers win. Sorry, Jake, over there. You guys can't notice right now, but the three of us are in a room together. Let's bring in the boys here. Big stuff. We have some new equipment. We'll be able to be in the same room together. Allows for a lot more here. We can work together a lot better. So this is very exciting news. If you guys hear any audio issues, please let us know because we're trying this out for the first time. So we'll see how it goes. Let's take a look back at yesterday's recap screen. I ended up going 2-2. One was the Donovan Mitchell play that Steven also gave out. I copied him, and that seemed to not go my way. So one of these days, you do owe me a good bet.
I'm like Barry Bonds in his prime with steroids. I'm hitting 1 for 3 with a home run, which is great for baseball players, but it's really terrible for betting accuracy. But again, 1 for 3. I'm a Hall of Famer in baseball.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Albert Bonds is in the Hall of Fame because of steroids, but you get my point.
And also, Mackenzie, the Gonzaga Washington, that was a push. And I have.
Oh, yeah. I always do this to you.
Yeah. You always take it away from me. Never give me anything.
Yeah. Jake did have a winning night. I can confirm. For some reason, the X's are just finding things they are not supposed to every time it comes to Jake's bets. So that's on me. So you know what? Could be worse. Could be a worse night. We're going to get into more NBA. Before we do that, we're going to get through some baseball, and then we're going to end with some futures that we like on some of these new rookie receivers. Quite the rookie receiving class that we have. So that should be an interesting time. Steven, I'll send you to the chat. Answer some NBA there with Derek. And now I already see some questions coming in. Let's start with college, Jake. Just one play today that we're looking at. Lamar Jackson University. My favorite.
Yeah, Lamar University and the WAC. They've been dominant this year. I think they had one of the longest win streaks in college baseball this season. So we like them on the money line, and I like pairing them with FGCUs. I did have one play earlier. I tweeted out for you guys. I had Mercer, and that game started at 4. Mercer's up 6-1. So if you followed me on Twitter, it's looking good for us right now. But there's not that many games on the Wednesday afternoon, so I just wanted to parlay my 2 favorite values.
This is the most Jake Fettner play of all time. Not only is it college baseball, just to start, FGCU and Lamar money line. I mean, that does not get more Jake than that, and that's probably why it's going to hit. All right, let's go over to the big leagues here. We got a few props we're going with. We'll start in Texas.
Yeah, I think Evan Carter is a vampire looking at his home or his day versus night splits. His day splits in like 9 games during the day. He's hitting like 0.86 with like a 350 OPS. And at night in 18 games, he has like a 950 OPS. So I think he's afraid of the daylight. So he's playing in a night game tonight. So I'm going with Evan Carter over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We have him at 2.2. And he is a vampire. That's what I'm going with. That's my theory.
Yeah, that's us. Data science vampires. That is our rationale for our picks. Thank you, Jake. This is good stuff. Let's head over to the Dodgers here. This is a name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I'm going to leave this one up to you.
Well, he's the $300 million man, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And I liked over 5.5 Ks it's hit in his last 4 games, getting plus money at plus 115. Yes, the Diamondbacks have one of the lower strikeouts against rates. So that's why it's at plus money here. But it's hitting 4 straight. He's looking better. It takes a little while to get used to the new ball in the MLB compared to the NPB, the professional league in Japan, just because it's less tacky. So it always takes these pitchers a couple times through the rotation to get used to it. And looks like Yamamoto is getting used to it because he's been a lot better lately.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like it there. We'll head over to the mound here, going to Altuve here for the Astros.
Yeah, Altuve, I like the matchup against Tristan McKenzie. Sorry to fade Derek's Guardians right here, but
I thought you were gonna say sorry to fade McKenzie's out there, and I was like,
yeah. I'm fading all McKenzie's out here with going against Tristan McKenzie. I hope he's not a Philadelphia fan as well. But Altuve has 10 plate appearances against Tristan McKenzie, and he's reached 6 times, and he's leading off, so he should get more at bats. And we would set this at like minus 170 with our line. So you're getting good value, minus 119 on the Caesars. I was surprised it was on minus 119 on Caesars because a lot of lines had it at minus 135.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. Minus 120, basically. versus our minus 170 that we would set it at. Love that value there. Good daily dose of baseball from Jake here. We're going to move into the association. I know a lot of people are already talking about this. Is a debate me and Steven were also having, talking about Bam, talking about Al Horford here. Interesting situation, trying to break down the numbers of the two of those. So let's just have that conversation quickly, because we found out that Big Al kind of gives Bam a hard time, shockingly.
They give each other a hard time. Al Horford's average in 14 games goes from 10.5 down to 7.3. And then Bam doesn't rebound around Al Horford. His rebounding average goes from like nearly 10 down to like, what was it, 6 points? Some
10 to 7.4.
Yeah. So he's only had like he had a double-digit rebound game the last time they match up against Celtics in the regular season. But that was when Porzingis was there. Before that, it was only one double-digit rebound. This is going back to 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk about Horford's point total here at 10.5. I see it in the chat already. Do you think that's a little inflated because of no Porzingis, or do you think this is
that's what he averages when before the season? So I think that's reasonable. We're only projecting 32 minutes and a 10 point. I could see him playing more minutes given the importance of this game and the lack of depth there. Mm-hmm. He played 34 the last game with Porzingis out, and they were up big. So we're probably under projecting this. And in fact, Derek and I will probably update this after the show with Horford getting back up to around 35 minutes.
Okay. I'm just going through a line of comments here. Portis under boards, man. That was looking really, really ugly for a good stretch of last night. Every time I turn to the TV, he's coming out of nowhere with the board. I think he had 10 somewhere early in the third quarter.
10 with 9 minutes left in the third quarter. I'm like, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. And then
I was like, my first.
It wasn't close.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he had 6 in like the first 10 minutes of the game.
It was so bad.
Yeah. And then I'm like, he's getting every board. And then he didn't have one for like the last 8 minutes in the first half. And then he had 10 with like 20 minutes left in the game and didn't have another one.
Yeah, because then at that point, I'm rooting for the blowout and for him to just hit the bench there, which ended up happening. But I mean, there were moments where there were 4 Milwaukee players under the net, and he would come running from half court and somehow end up with that ball in his hand. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? So I thought that was going to be my first and last under, but maybe I'm an unders girl now. I don't know.
That's the funny thing. That's what I noticed. Like, you'd never bet unders, and today's like, I'm doing an under and Bam.
Well,
this is short to bet the under.
I know. This is an unofficial play that I was thinking about earlier. Now that we've learned that Big Al is giving Bam some problems here, I do like Bam potentially under his points and rebounds here. I think it's like 32, something really, really high, just given the fact that Big Al's sneakily given him some problems and the rebounds aren't there. I will say there's only so many players on Miami to do anything tonight. So it's kind of scary to take any of their unders. I got a few plays in this game. Steven's got a few plays in this game. Let's get started with Highsmith here.
Yeah, so Haywood Highsmith over 1.5 blocks and steals. I mean, the model just barely ticks over, but it's plus 180 on DraftKings. And that's actually, it was plus 170 when I found this bet. So that's good that it's going away from our side. The season trends are relevant because, he didn't play major minutes. No Jimmy Butler, no Terry Rozier. Now Jaime Jaquez is out. Duncan Robinson seems to be in the doghouse to some degree. He's barely played. So I think that this is a sweet spot for Highsmith to play that upper 20s, low 30s minutes, and the over is a solid 9-4 when he does that. So I think that is well worth it, plus 180. And then I love this one, Jovic over 8.5 points. Again, season trends don't apply because, the last month he's been a double-digit scorer. He overs 3-1 in this series, but you can buy low in his poor game last game, just 3 points in 16 minutes. I think he's in line for over the 25 minutes, given who's out for Miami.
Exactly.
Over is 10-4 when he has 26 plus minutes. So that is a lock.
Yeah. I'm on that here. I was talking to the other guys over by production about this too. One of which is in the chat talking about Bam to have a 3. Everybody in this building has talked me out of it before. And now it's making me feel like I want to hit it again. He had his 3 last game. It's plus 145, plus 150. I am a little intrigued by this. I will say I like the Highsmith. I'm going over 6.5 points here, basically on the same merit that he will be playing 25 plus minutes. And literally, who else is going to be scoring the basketball if it's not him? And also, if we're not looking at, then we got to look at who's my other guy here. We got Highsmith, and I got Jovic too. I'm looking at Jovic at the same spot.
One thing about Bam, he's developed a severe allergy to steals and blocks. He's got no steals in his last 6 games and no blocks this series.
Mhm.
So I was tempted to use the he's due logic, but I've lost on his blocks and steals.
And it's
numerous
probably
times.
at 1.5 too, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if they
maybe under
adjust the line
1.5,
to
but
if it's plus money. Maybe you can look that up. But
yeah,
it's
look it
kind of bizarre that just given the number of minutes and the great defensive player that he is, that he's not getting any steals or blocks just out of dumb luck.
He's due. All right, we got some questions on this game here. Let's go back to Derek White, someone who has given us a lot of green check
Love
marks
Derek
through this
White.
series. 15.5 now is the point total. Is this a little too high now for us?
I mean, the model still likes it at 16.1. I just not going to go back to the well 3 times and be greedy.
Yeah.
You know, so
Twice, maybe.
2 in a row is
Yeah.
good, and he cruised to it. So obviously, he covered the 12.5 in the first 7 minutes.
What about what are we projecting for his rebounds?
4.5 rebounds. I assume his line might be pretty good on that number. See, because with Porzingis out, then everyone's got to chip in more. He crashes the boards pretty good. So his rebound line, I assume, is at. I can't find his a solo rebound line on this.
I'll look it up.
Yeah,
Must be there.
us young kids will find this quicker. I will look at Drew Holiday here. That was another question. Drew Holiday's assist. The line is 4.5 at plus money, plus 115.
So we would like that. We give 4.7 assists. So at plus money, we like that.
Derek White rebounds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Best line in the major books is over 4.5 at plus 106 on FanDuel.
So that's fair value. If you get plus money, we have the same projection. So interesting about Holiday is assists this year have been way higher on the road. 26 and 10 on the road, 5.4 average, just a 4.2 average at home, 12 and 25, probably because Boston's blowing a lot of teams out. Doesn't have to play as much. So it's about Miami. Can they muster up a competitive game or not?
I know. Well, that's why I'm going with 2 guys on Miami that I have to assume are playing 4 quarters of basketball, regardless of what's going on. Either Miami's keeping it close because these guys are playing well, or Miami gets blown out and these 2 are probably staying on the court.
Yep.
I mean, how does this work? Say Miami is getting blown out. Like, does Bam stay on the court? Tyler Hero stay on the court?
Yeah. I don't know. I know Haywood Highsmith probably will.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I know. That's all I need to hear for 7 points from my guy.
Yeah, I hope it's not Patty Mills. I'm a little worried about Patty Mills
God.
because he hasn't played. He's been playing a lot of minutes the last 2 games after not seeing barely any action for months. But it's not like he lit the world on fire. So I'm thinking that, he goes back to the bench.
Let's take one more question from this game that I see here. Looking at Tatum, we'll take a look at his points and rebounds, potential to fade him in the spot. Let me find the line quick.
Yeah, we have 36.2 projected, so it's
Line's
probably
37.5.
Yeah. So again, if you're not, we haven't projected for 40 minutes, which is more than he's played.
Yeah.
Last 2 games.
I'm on the fade train. I'm a big unders girl now, if you guys didn't tell. So.
I'm on any if we have value in any Boston under, considering that they might not play the 4th quarter, I like the under.
Yeah, I like the under there too. Okay, let's move on here to the second game of the night, Dallas Clippers. I have a play in this game. Steven has a play in this game. Let's talk about the spread and the total quick here. Do we have any value in general?
No, I mean, we did against when it opened Clippers -1, but it steamed quickly with Kawhi being out. And I think the Clippers won by 5 the last game, very impressively, but it took 62% 3-point shooting. That's not going to happen again. So that's why I think the public justifiably is on Dallas. The model is actually even heavier at 3.5 on Dallas.
Yeah. I'm team Dallas, at least for my prop. I'm going with PJ Washington over 10.5 points here. Going back to the well, this is only my second time. Third time's when things get scary. But this is only the second. It's been a few weeks, I'd say. Maybe 2 weeks. PJ Washington over 10.5 points. Looking for 11 points from him. Had 18 in game 2. Has got 10 and 10 the past 2 games. Certainly was capable of more. The volume's there. The 3-point attempts are there. He's 1 for 9, I believe, from deep so far. So all I see is 9 attempts. And I think we just need 1 or 2 more to fall. And he would have cashed this past 2 games. So I think they need him to play well, especially if Luka is not 100%, even if he's in the game. I need a big PJ Washington night. Dallas needs a big PJ Washington night. So I think this is a good buy low spot given his 10-point performances the last 2 games.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'd like it not quite as much as my Norman Powell. I'm trying to usually I follow a streak of losing with going to a shell.
Yeah.
And question my life choices.
Wow.
But I'm doing the opposite. I'm going
are
to go
so
all
brave.
in because I feel so good about this pick. Norman Powell over 11.5 points. He averages 13.7 the year. The model's at 13.8. So we're right there. And he actually doesn't see a bump up when Kawhi doesn't play. He averages the same, which is actually in some ways reassuring that he's not somebody's, dependent on what's going on. His minutes and usage are stable. I like the buy low value on his 5-1 unders because even though it's been under, he's shooting well from 3-point range, which is what the Clippers are going to need. 10 for 17 in the series. The rest of the role players, non-Harden, non-Paul George, have been shooting horribly.
Hey, they're going to get better. Thank
Westbrook's 4 for 24. This is not just from 3. This is overall last 3 games.
Yeah.
Terrence Mann's 5 for 19 last 3 games. And Amir Coffey is 5 for 15 this series. So the you can't expect Paul George and James Harden to score all the points again. They're going to need Powell to score at least. Well, they're going to need him to score 20. I think 21 they did 2 games ago. But I think getting over 12. I am predicting a early second quarter over.
Norman Powell.
I will be less than 1.5 glasses of wine in. Oh, and this is the late game. I'll be less than 3.5 glasses of wine in.
Norman Powell, 20 plus points, plus 650. Is that worth a sprinkle? Just a sprinkle?
What is it?
Plus 650 for 20 plus points.
Yes, I think it's worth.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math. I think.
Can you buy him any lower, like 15 plus?
No, just on Hard Rock at least it's 10 plus and 20 plus, 30 plus. But so I said in the chat, I'm gonna steal your guys' plays.
You don't have to call it stealing. You can be like the guys. My coworkers are so smart and intelligent, and I'm supporting them.
No,
it doesn't have to be
their play. I'm going Powell 10 plus, Washington 10 plus, plus 130. Locked it in right now. Betting in during the podcast. Pulling a Stephen O.
Yeah.
This is how crazy our ego is that multiple times we have just taken each other's plays and parlayed them for more money.
But
That's how confident
I did
are.
it when we were in a contest against each other. No,
that was crazy.
That
makes sense. But
Yeah.
just like using advice and agreeing.
It would have been good if Jair Brown didn't have a plus 30 unit interception.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was
my
all-time.
play though, right?
Yeah.
That was you stealing mine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I have a question for the non-existent peanut gallery. It's really just me curious about this. Russell Westbrook, his point total is set at 8.5.
Yeah, I was tempted. And the model has Westbrook's are one of our stronger plays from a pure model standpoint because without Kawhi, but he's just been doing nothing offensively. He can't, like I said, he's 2 for 8, 0 for 7, 2 for 9 his last 3 games. He hasn't even been crashing the boards. He's played around 20 minutes a game. He's getting 3 rebounds. So I guess he's contributing with the steals and blocks. So maybe you can get some value there. He's loading up those 2 categories.
I don't think this is the point in the season where I randomly start betting Russell Westbrook. I was just a little curious about it.
But I guess it's all about the he's due. But when Russ is not feeling it, he rarely looks
over 1.5 steals is plus 175.
He's got 2 in 2 games. He got 2, 1, 1, 2. Plus 170. We are projecting.
Our dog Sed's on Russell PRA over 15.5. Prayers to you. I'm not anti. He's going with the he's due theory.
I mean, we're
not anti he's due theory.
3 PRA value there. So any Westbrook, any Russell Westbrook or Russell Wilson prop scares me.
As long as 5 of those A's are going to Powell, I'm fine.
Fair. All right. I think that's all I see question-wise for the NBA playoffs. We'll head into the NFL talking about some futures. We went over the rookie quarterbacks yesterday. We'll go through the receivers here as well. Any other questions, obviously, feel free to put them in the chat. But let's start with the big guns here with Marvin Harrison Jr. His receiving yard line set at 1,000 yards, and we have him going over this. Steven, if you want to tell us why.
Yeah, I love this because the team only has Trey McBride as somebody that is going to get over 15% even of their team yards. Michael Wilson had moments last year as a rookie, but didn't stay healthy. Chris Moore, he's usually a special teamer, became a borderline starter. He could pop for 100 yards once a year, but is not, again, a stable, reliable target. Dortch is also an injury prone, Elijah Higgins. But Kyler Murray, when he has a top tier number 1 wide receiver that he likes, like when he had DeAndre Hopkins, he targets him a ton, 14, 13, 14, 12, double digit targets. So I love this for Harrison.
And I have to say, like Caleb Williams and his passing touchdowns that we mentioned yesterday, this feels like just based off the public and the footage that's going to come out at spring training and stuff like that in the summer, and the internet's going to fall in love with him. This might be the lowest line you're going to get before the season starts.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to other parts of the big three here. Malik Neighbors going over his receiving yard line, and we have a pretty solid over projection for him too.
Yeah, this is I actually hate Daniel Jones, and I think the Giants are terrible, and that I don't know. I still don't understand why they give him $40 million a year, 44 or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
Wait,
they
are
have
you a Giants fan, Jake? Oh,
No, I'm a Jaguars fan.
okay.
yeah. But they have a lot of parallels to Buffalo a few years ago when Stephon Diggs. If in this case, Neighbors is Stephon Diggs, Brian Daboll is the OC, and Brian Daboll is here. Devin Singletary is replacing Saquon Barkley. And those Buffalo teams with Josh Allen, they stopped running, right? They were so pass first. So I expect volume alone for this team to go from when Jones was healthy 2 years ago, or in 22, is 200 passing yards a game. I could see that ticking up to 220 to at least. Neighbors and the team, they had Wan'Dale Robinson, and and people think that maybe Darren Waller, but he's always talking retirement and he's injury prone as well. So if you look at comparable top tier wide receivers, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, even they're 28% or more of their team's receiving yardage. So for Neighbors to stay, in addition to staying healthy, if Neighbors can get 26% of yardage, and even if Jones is still at 200 passing yards a game, he hits the over. So we like we love the idea of him getting 28% on even more yards per game.
I don't think people realize how close Neighbors versus Marvin Harrison really was. I know like half the teams, almost half the teams had Neighbors right there with Harrison. So I mean, he's very good. Any Daniel Jones receiver does scare me, taking an over prop. So it scares me, but I mean, he's really good. So
yeah. Let's talk about a receiver we're not scared of their quarterback here. Looking at a Dunze to go over his receiving yard line as well. I just talked about this on HQ a few hours ago. So allow me, if you guys don't mind, to talk about it again. One of the big things we were talking about, though, that Jake found, Draft Sharks, was a website that gives the likelihood of certain athletes to get injured for some point of time in the season. You're looking at the two guys ahead of him with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. DJ Moore, 2019 was the only season in since 2019 he's been healthy completely for one season, I think.
Yeah.
So he's 66% or 60% chance to get injured this season. Then you're looking at Keenan Allen rocking around a 33% chance to get injured. So it's almost a 100% chance between the two guys ahead of him that someone's going to be injured for some handful of time, and he's moving from wide receiver 3 to 1 or 2 here, on top of the fact that this is an offense created for passing touchdowns for receivers here with Caleb Williams, spending the money on the interior line here, giving him time in the pocket. I think everybody should benefit from Caleb Williams being their quarterback, but Adunze should find a few games this season where he could be something better than wide receiver 3 and getting more targets. Anyone have anything to add there?
Yeah, the one comparable that I was thinking is Jackson Smith and Jigba. The floor, I think, for Dunze. He had 628 receiving yards as kind of the third wide receiver in Seattle, but none of the DK Metcalf and Lockett, neither of them got hurt. I mean, Metcalf missed one game, so so unlike that situation, we think there's a higher probability that two receivers ahead of Dunze could miss time, and then Seattle also has a good goal line runner in Kenneth Walker, whereas Chicago doesn't have good goal line running backs.
Yeah.
So
they have great running backs, just receiving running backs.
I don't think they're that
Not
great.
great.
Yeah,
good.
Sorry. I have a soft spot for DeAndre Swift. I'm just saying they don't suck, but they're just probably likely to be receiving backs.
They're not gonna Gus Edwards or Derrick Henry. So it's first and goal. They're not gonna run the ball 3 times up the gut.
I'm a much bigger Roshan Johnson fan than their coaches are. I was calling for him to get RB1 carries last year, and
we don't have a huge value on his touchdown at 4.5, but I'm tempted to do that as well.
You're also tempted to take Jalen Milroe to win the Heisman.
Stephen O. Milroe.
Yes, that is what they call you.
Yeah.
All right.
Milroe.
We'll head over to Brian Thomas Jr. headed to Jake's Jacksonville Jaguars. Massive. Actually, this might just be a typo. I don't know if it's massive value. Is this really what we have? 928.
Oh yeah. We got tons. We're going all in. Jake.
All right.
If this is wrong, it's Jake's fault because I set Brian Thomas Jr.'s role based on his knowledge. You had some distant member of your family who was part of the original ownership, right? Your grandfather or something?
It's my grandfather's like first cousin.
And I know last year one of the key personnel people for the Jags was at like your dad's house or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got inside info.
So Marcus Pollard is good friends with my uncle.
We have an insider. So this is based on, so we're expecting him to play the X wide receiver 1 role. Christian Kirk might still lead the league and lead the team in targets if he stays healthy, but he's more of a slot guy and didn't stay healthy last year. Zay Jones was cut recently. When he was in that spot, he had 82 receptions, but just 823 yards. So if Trevor Lawrence sees Thomas Jr. as that viable a target, his explosiveness over Brian Thomas Jr., when he had not a good quarterback at LSU, was under 12 yards per reception. Then Jane Daniels went to 17 last year. So Trevor Lawrence, even if you think he disappointed so far in his career, he was still the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. So in my mind, he's still a great quarterback. So I think that even if he gets 80% the targets of Zay Jones in terms of receptions, he should clear this over.
I wasn't a big fan of the Gabe Davis signing until they drafted Brian Thomas, and now it makes a lot more sense because if you look at Brian Thomas and Zay Jones's measurables before the draft, they're pretty much identical. Their RAS scores, their athleticism scores, their down the field catching. They're pretty much Brian Thomas is a Zay Jones 10 years ago and a better recruit and slightly better at everything. And we saw when Zay Jones was healthy 2 years ago, how much action he got with Trevor. So I think that Trevor's going to really like Brian Thomas this season.
I mean, just the fact that he's wide receiver 1. Like what are we missing anything?
I think Kirk's
Ridley's
probably
gone, Jones is cut.
I think
Kirk in the slot.
Kirk's probably going to play in the slot, but I think Kirk's probably going to be. I mean, also Evan Ingram had 114 catches last season, so I don't think he's going to replicate that. And if you look at his injury history, he's probably a lot more likely to get hurt this season now that he didn't get hurt last season. So there's going to be plenty of targets. He's due. He's due.
DJ Moore is due for injury. Yeah. That guy's ready. All right, let's move on to one strong undervalue that we actually have here, talking about Xavier Legette, who we do love. We're a fan of. We had him going. Jake had him going first in the first round, made some good money there. However, there are a lot of mouths to feed on this offense. I wouldn't say all awesome, but is just a very congested receiver room here. I mean, you got 2-star veterans ahead of him, and then he's one of 3 physical young receivers he's competing with. Jonathan Mingo, you could argue that the coaches are going to more invest in him and his development. Basically, 2nd-round pick, very similar to Legette there. And then they invested in a tight end, in Sanders, who is really just meant there to he wasn't recruited for his blocking. I mean, they have him basically as another receiver. So on top of all of that, and then like Jake mentioned, spent millions and millions on your interior line to maybe run the ball more. So I just don't understand how someone like him could go over Adunze's line. Basically.
They have the same line. So Legette also is just history. Slow starter at South Carolina, 4 years, 42 receptions, 420 yards in his first 4 seasons, then popped last season. I like to think of it, what's the chance of him going over? To see it get over, you'd have to see Bryce Young go from 180 passing yards a game to at least 230. You'd have to see a massive improvement there. You'd have to see Legette get 20% of the team's receiving yards, despite there's Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, and in addition to the younger guys. Yeah. So and the running backs. So I think that I don't see those 2 factors combined with him staying healthy, because all football players get hurt.
I mean, you're literally asking Young to improve, which is tough on its own. You're asking Thielen or Johnson to get hurt. And you're asking the coaches not to invest in Jonathan Mingo.
Even if you think there's a high % chance of each of those things happening, like 75%, it's if you multiply them 75 times 75 times 75, then you're well under 40%, 35% for the over.
Yeah. Let's take a quick head nod here to Brock Bowers because he was a big part of this draft. We do have him projected to go under his total, just barely. So nothing crazy, not strong value, but probably someone people are curious about. Jake, if you want to talk to this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2 tight ends. I'd probably just stay off this because it's not like there's a ton of value, and the unders have juiced at -125, so it's probably closer to like 670,
to be honest.
yeah, 670 and
even,
635 to 670 throughout a 17-game season. 35 yards isn't a big difference, so I'd probably stay off. I love Bowers. I think he's going to fit really well, and I think he's going to play a lot with Michael Mayer in together in 2 tight end sets. So I'd probably stay off, and you'll probably know within the first 2 weeks if this is going to hit.
So the one thing is Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers there. I just saw a headline on CBS the other day that hinted to Adams as a kind of regrets going to Vegas and wishes he'd stayed in Green Bay.
Nice.
He
I wonder if
everything he does.
I wonder if they're positioning it as potential trade of Adams. So if you think that Devontae, because they could get a haul for him, right, from a contender, maybe send him back to Green Bay and try to get 3 of those guys. But if Adams were out of the picture, and Michael Gallup was their replacement at wide receiver, then I think the over is really intriguing here because you're getting 30% of the team's receiving yards out the door. And even if they replace them with young guys, they'd probably be a couple young guys with like in the 12 to 15% range. Then all of a sudden you have Bowers,
I'm rooting for Bowers.
The number 2 receiving target on the team.
Who's the other tight end? Michael Mayer?
Yeah.
They invested a second-round pick last year on him.
Yeah. I feel like he gave me some green
overs.
check marks.
Yeah. When we were going tight end.
From what I remember,
props,
we were big on the tight ends here. All right, I'll pull up the recap screen here quick. I did see a question about the Boston-Miami total 220.5. We didn't really talk about the spread or anything in that game. We're just prop heavy.
I think the number is probably 200.5, right? It's probably a typo. We have a lot of value in the over, but over-unders in the NBA playoffs can be sketchy. With the whistles start, the refs don't call it. You don't call it. You let people get away with a lot of stuff. They allow Joel Embiid to basically try to injure people and maybe knife them on the court.
That's nonsense.
And, that's probably why. I don't know.
Let's focus on Tyrese Maxey. Why don't we? Let's just focus on the good here.
Speaking of Maxey, it was obviously a wrong move by Thibodeau to not try to foul him.
Yeah, that was just bad. That was bad analytics. We'll be the first to say.
We're going to foul him. Don't give him the continuation. We're going to foul him. Even if there's 7 seconds left, we're going to foul the guy, and then they could have gotten away with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, go Sixers. Jake, we can talk about this again Thursday for Game 6. But till then, I think that's about it for the NFL futures for the time being. Just wanted to throw some early value out there for you guys. Tomorrow, we'll go over the NBA games for the Thursday slate. Of course, we'll have some MLB, some college baseball. Jake, yes or no?
Yeah, we should have a couple games.
All right. And of course, time for all of your guys' questions. So with that, good luck with your guys' bets tonight, and we will see you tomorrow.